Is it a joiner or a jointer? I guess that depends on whether you call it a joint or a join. Hey y'all, I'm James Wright. Welcome to my shop. Today I want to talk about jointing boards. Now, if you notice in my shop, I don't have a big massive jointer for running boards through and getting a nice clean true edge. And whenever you want to join two long edges together like these two boards, you want to make sure that these are a really nice straight edge so that the two of them meet. And I kind of want to go through a couple different techniques of how you can do that with a simple number 4, or if you have a jointer plane to make it a little bit easier. So let's actually dive in and take a look at this. Here I have the two boards laid out the way I want them to be joined together. And there are two basic ideas of how to go about actually doing the jointing work. Now, number one is you set one board up like that, and then you plane this board to meet this board. And that is the way I generally prefer to do it. The other method is you take this board on top and you lay it down, and you put the two of them side by side in the vise and you joint the two of them at the same time. And theoretically, if you get a nice flat edge all the way across, then if there's any skew in the angle and you've been tipping one way or the other, if it's out of square, then it really doesn't matter, because then if this one is out of square 1 degree, then this one is also out of square 1 degree. And when you bring them back in together, they counteract each other. And that's great. It works fairly well. The problem is, until you get really good at using a jointer plane, you're going to have some issues with either like a belly in it, or you'll have it set too deep and you can put a valley in the middle. And if you have a belly in the middle of both of these boards, then when you put them together, then they're going to rock and not have a good jointing edge. Or if there is a valley in either one, then you're going to put them together, and as these are right now, there's a gap in between them. So I want to actually show you how you can just joint the one board so that it will meet up with the other one. Now, the first thing you want to do is put the two boards down just the way they would go, and then hold them up to the light, or just get down and look through it, and you'll be able to see there's a gap of light here. You can see I'm holding a flashlight behind. It's kind of hard for the camera to pick up. There's probably about a 32nd of an inch gap here, maybe almost a 16th in the middle. But it's just here in the middle, and it's touching at either end. And so out here on the end, you can't see any gap, but here in the middle, there you can see the light coming through the gap. So what this tells me is that the board is touching here, and there's a bit of a valley here. So I'm going to think about this board being perfectly flat. Whether it is or not, I really don't care. I just want these two boards to join up together. So if this edge is perfectly flat, great. If it's not perfectly flat, oh well. I'm just going to make this board match this board. So the first thing I need to do is that when looking at it, I find there's a valley here and it's high on either end. So I need to take off some material from either end. So I'm going to set this board down, and I'm going to start with a number 4. Now, if I have a jointer on hand, I'm probably just going to be using the jointer. There's no reason for me to use a number 4 if I have a jointer already. But not everyone has a number 6, number 7, number 8 big plane like this. So I want to show you some of the basics of how you can do it with a regular number 4. I'm just going to start back here, advance it until I get a cut. And I'm just going to take a little bit off this wing, and I'm going to make a slightly longer shaving with each pass. And what I'm basically doing there is I'm taking a heavier amount here, a little lighter amount here, and a very light amount here, and nothing in the middle. And then I'm going to come down here on the end, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. Light pass, longer, 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 and longer. Now, until you get fairly good at it, you're going to be wanting to check for square occasionally, making sure that you are indeed square. I'm fairly confident with this that I can keep it square, so I'm not going to be checking all the time. But before joining, I do want to make sure that indeed I am still keeping a nice square true edge on this. So once we've done that, we can put this back up here, take another peek at it, and see what we got. And I still have a little bit of light in there, not much. And I'm also looking at where is the light coming from. So I have a little bit of light here on the end, but it touches here, and it touches to here, and then I have light from there, fairly heavy light, touches here, touches. So this area of the board is nice and good. This area of the board is good. So those good areas, I need to take those down a little bit so that we meet in the middle. So what I can do, again, come in with this, and I can go there, there, and then I'm going to take, because I'm good all the way out to there, I'm going to go a little farther, go a little farther, and I'm good from here to here, and I'm just going to go a little farther. And let's see how that did. Just got a little bit more. I'm good from here to here, and I'm good from here to right up on the edge. It just kind of dips off on the end. And anytime it dips off on the end, that's usually because at the end I'm pushing over the end and I'm pushing down with this, and so it tips down like that. So I got to be very careful of that. So I'm going to start here and just clean up this area. Take that high spot down. Come back here. And there we have it. That is nice and flat all the way across. I cannot see any light coming through anywhere along that. So yeah, there you go. You can joint with a number 4. So now that you know how to joint with a number 4 or a small plane, let me show you how to joint with a jointer. Now this makes it much easier because with a small plane like this, if there's any undulation in the board, this will ride up and down in the lows and valleys. So this will still take off material on the top of a mountain, but it will still take off material in the bottom of a valley. Whereas with this, if this is on a mountain and this is on a mountain, then the blade in the valley is not going to be cutting anything off. So this only takes off in high spots, which is great for this. Now what I'm going to basically do is if I start back here, I'm going to be keeping the force when I'm starting up here on the front, and I'll be pushing down with this. I'll be letting this finger slide along the board. So I can come back here, and I can start into it, and I'm just making sure I can get one nice pass all the way from one side to the other. Now when I get to this point on the board, I'm basically going to let go of this hand, make sure that all my force is back here. The reason for that is I don't want this to tip off the other end. If I'm pushing down here, then I'm going to be rounding off this end of the board. Some people almost completely let go. I like to just keep my hand on there a little bit, just making sure I'm not putting any pressure on it. So I just took a curl all the way from one end to the other, and you're basically thinking, wow, that's perfectly flat then. Well, a jointer will tell you if it's flat, but it will also tell you, it won't tell you if there is a hill in the middle of this. So if this point on the board is high and these points are low, it can actually ride with that all the way over. So what I want to actually do to counter that is I'm just going to start here in the middle, and I'm going to take out a shaving out of the middle, and then I'm going to take out another shaving out of the middle, and I'm going to keep going until I don't take a shaving. And then I'm going to back up a little bit farther. I'm going to take a shaving out of there, back up a little bit farther, take a shaving out of there. Now you're noticing I'm taking shavings out of just this middle area. And the reason I can do that is because there's a bow. If this was perfectly flat, then I would take a shaving out of here, and the next time I pass through here, I wouldn't be able to take a shaving. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a hill that was in here out. So I'm starting in the middle and taking off here, and then I'll take off here, and then I'll take off here, and I'll keep going until I don't get any shaving between here and here. And that lets me know that this is a high spot, and this is a high spot, this is a low spot. So let's keep going on it. And here you can tell I'm running through this, I'm not getting anything. So that lets me know that this is either slightly valleyed or perfectly flat. And in this case, I know it's slightly valleyed because I'm not taking off anything. So then I'm going to back up a little bit farther. And now I'm getting a shaving here where I didn't get it a moment ago because I just took off that hill behind me. I'm taking off the hill there. And then I'm going to come all the way out here to the end, and I'm going to take one pass, one good clean pass from one end all the way to the other. And check it with my square just to make sure I didn't botch anything up. And that's what I'm looking for. And so then I know that because I took out the valley, I took out the mountain here in the middle, and I worked it out, I know now that this is perfectly flat. If I were to get down and eyeball it, it wouldn't look like anything. So I can put this on here, and I can see, oh, pretty. That is nice and clean all the way across. Now, if I wanted to, I could joint the other side flat, and because I'm using a jointer, I probably am going to joint the other side flat. And often when I'm using a jointer, that's the one time when I will put both down together and joint both boards at the same time, because this will let me know that it is perfectly flat, and I'm fairly decent at keeping a nice square edge, so I don't have to worry about that. It just allows me to cut two boards at one time, as opposed to doing one board and then jointing the other one flat to make them match. In this case, I know this edge is flat, I did it earlier, and so they fit together really nice and clean-like. So there you have it. If you don't have a jointer, or even if you don't have a jointing plane, you can still joint boards together and get a nice, clean, smooth surface. Now, this does take a little bit of skill. It's not like, a jointer, once it's set up and true, then you run your boards through and you're always happy. You do have to make sure that they're square. You do have to learn the art of sharpening. You do have to learn the art of how to use a hand plane and how to adjust it and how to set it up. And I do have a bunch of videos on those if you want to see them. But it's something that's very satisfying when you get these beautiful curls that come off from one end of the board to the other, and it is a joyful thing to have. Just a lot of fun, and it's really about the journey, not about the end project. So I hope you like this. If you do have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I do want to say thank you to the patrons on Patreon. You guys are the reason why I can keep producing videos like this. If you'd like to find out more about that or help out, you can do so right down here. Also, if you'd like to see some behind the scenes footage or subscribe to this channel, go ahead and check those out. Until next time, have a wonderful day.